All right. Looks like we're ready to fucking rock and roll then. I almost spilled my coffee all over my feet. That got dangerously close. But luckily, my nemesis, Reborn Coaster saved me. So.
Well, the headphones work.
They do work. Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions to determine if they are world class. I'm Brian Bergara.
I'm Byron Marin.
And for today's episode, we're ranking the top 10 screen rides that exist today. Now, what is a screen ride, you might be asking yourself? Well, it's a ride that, for better or worse, is reliant on screens. This can be a motion simulator, a shooter, or a blend of dark ride, but mainly screens.
And if you're familiar with this show already, you know that Ryan loves these type of attractions, and he can't wait to go through this list.
I will say that I've put my prejudice aside of screen rides to make this list, and I for the most part think that the aggregate list that we've landed on, that these 10 rides are, I think they're fine rides. A lot of them are very good, and then some of them they're fine rides. Okay. So to qualify as a screen ride, the ride has to either be A, over 50% screens, and Byron has actually clocked the runtime of some of these to make sure.
As in, like, 50% of the runtime of this ride is predominantly screen, where the screen dominates the scene.
Exactly. Or B, if the ride is no longer functional, if all the screens were to be removed, that makes it a screen ride. So, for example, Forbidden Journey is actually at 49% screens. So it wouldn't qualify for option A, but if you were to remove all of the screens in Forbidden Journey, you'd spend a lot of time looking at a blank dome wall. So it therefore qualifies for option B, and therefore qualifies as a screen ride and is eligible for listing. Lastly, this top 10 list is a consensus between the two of us, formed by a point system. Byron and I each made our own top 10s, and a ranking of first is worth 10 points, a ranking of second is worth 9, and so on and so on. And then I tallied up all the scores to create this aggregate ranking. As such, only I know the contents of this list, and the rankings will be revealed live to all of you, but to Byron as well. And as always, we do have to shout out a muscle job, which is when somebody purposefully lists something higher on their own personal list to get it onto the aggregate list. I don't think anything...
There's no way there's a muscle job on this one.
No, right? I don't think so, because none of us really ride hard enough for these rides. So, well, maybe some of them. But either way, it's going to be a fun one. And we're also going to be saying what we think is our worst screen ride as well, for dishonorable mentions. That being said, please like and subscribe to keep the channel alive if you're watching over at youtube.com/@FYApod, or if you're listening to the audio version of this, subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars, and maybe leave a review for us over on Apple Reviews in the podcast app, because it does help keep this show going. And consider supporting us over on our fourth wall, FYApod.com. You'll get up to 3 monthly bonus shows, as well as main episodes ad-free, extended vlogs, early releases on vlogs. And also, we just started offering an annual membership for a 10% discount. We were scared to offer that before because we weren't sure this show was going to be alive for longer than a month. So now that we have 2 years under our belt, we feel a little more confident, and we'll see if that was misplaced. Anyways, that does it. And you can find our merch there as well. But let's go ahead and just get straight into this list here, Byron. How was the experience of making this?
I think I changed this list like 5 times over.
That's right.
At least.
That is true.
I almost had a terror tram incident.
Yeah, he's referring to our top 5 Halloween overlays episode, in which he didn't list the terror tram.
A couple attractions in particular that I adore that almost didn't make this list.
Same for me.
Luckily, well, I don't want to say luckily, because there's still, maybe I might have missed one. We'll find out, but...
Honestly, I don't think so. I think this one for me was harder in the margins, like the actual placement of, not the inclusion of the rides in my list, but rather where they landed my top 10. Are they 5 or are they 7? And some of them I'm still not quite sure about, but I tried to truly judge these rides on their own merit and not bring in my own personal bias of what I think of the IP or what I think of the ride over time as I've just gotten more fatigued by the screens of today. And you know, it is nice to make this episode, this list. You know, if we had made this episode, say, when we started this show 2 years ago, I don't know if we'd be able to have that same kind of objectivity, because we are now at least moving in the direction in which the theme park world at large is starting to stray away from the screens because they're hearing everyone complain about them, rightfully so. To the point where I believe in our Secret Life of Pets episode, one of the heads of Universal Creative, I don't think it was Woodbury, but somebody had mentioned we are basically I'm paraphrasing here, but we've heard all the chatter about your disdain for the screen, so we're focusing more on physical elements and animatronics now. So that was nice for Universal to admit their own misgivings in this arena.
To be completely transparent when making this list, we were originally going for a top 5, but it turns out that would have created zero room for nuance.
Yes, that's right. Fair? I would say so. I would say so. And also, I think by making it a top 10 instead of top 5, we got some more interesting inclusions on the list.
You got a couple questionable ones to
let's call it
perhaps
that.
Sneak in.
But without further ado, let's go ahead and start this list off. We're going to start with number 10. And this is interesting because we've actually covered this ride as its own episode in the World Class, and it did not score well, but here it is on a top 10 list. At number 10, we have Transformers. Good work. Now, this received a score of 3, landing it at the 10 spot on the aggregate list. I had this at number 8. Byron had this not on his list at all.
I didn't. I had it 11.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
So I had it at 8, and it hurt me deeply to put it even at 8. And not in the sense of like, oh, it should have been higher. It hurt me that it was that high, to be honest. Because and this is what I was saying before, I was trying to not let my personal bias come into play here. Transformers as an IP isn't my favorite. And because this was basically carrying all of the weight of Universal Studios Hollywood for what felt like a decade, honestly, in terms of a pretty weak ride lineup for that park, I got very tired of this ride and started to develop a relationship with it, if you will. And I will admit, when I first got on this ride, I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was
pumped.
I thought it was a blast.
Because we were in college, right?
We were in college.
I don't know if that's showing our age a bit, but
we were in college, and we figured out that we went to college in the OC, and you could take the train from the OC to Universal Studios. It would drop you off pretty close, and we figured that out. And as fate would have it, the stars aligned that Universal would start offering a $3 margarita in City Walk, and we took heavy advantage of those pours, and then used that fuel to go get on Transformers the ride, and it was a lot of fun. And I will say, when it first came out, it was, at least for the West Coast, the first of its kind. Obviously, Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man predated it by several years over there in Universal Islands of Adventure over in Orlando, but we had never seen anything like this. I had never been to Islands of Adventure at that time, so this was pretty cool. And if I had known that it was going to be the beginning of a stretch of darkness, in the sense of there was almost no dark rides built for like 10 years after this ride came out because of the success of this ride, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did. But alas, I did not know that, as I am not a future seer. So, yeah, I will say I really enjoyed this ride. I think it's well done. Mixes physical live action elements with screens, though the screens aren't exactly, they don't have the nuanced placement that they do in something like Spider-Man. You're very clearly looking at a giant screen for a lot of this. And that's why it's on the latter half of my list. But Byron, why did you not include this on yours?
There's just a lot of screen rides, man. I don't even think this is that bad of a ride.
What did it get in our when we went through the rubric?
Our original grade of it was like a 4 out of 10 or like a 4.5.
I believe it was like, yeah.
Which I think was maybe a little unfair. Because I think
we could bring it to court.
I think this would be a great one because part of the fun of World Class Kangaroo Court is bringing in rides that A, we might have been a little generous to, or B, ones that might have deserved a little more credit. And we might have had just like a little bit of a bias against them. And this might be one of those. Because I do remember really enjoying this ride the first few times I went on it. And then I just don't think it really aged that well. But I think like for most guests visiting that aren't like in super sicko territory.
That's true.
There's a lot to offer here. And especially if you stop making comparisons to the the ride system that predated it with that system.
It has a lot of things going against it that prevent it from being judged in a vacuum. One, like you just said, it was the same ride system pioneered by Spider-Man, so everyone was already like, this is second. Two, it started an era of screen rides. I would say this is probably the main offender of that. You can make an argument for Forbidden Journey, but I truly do think that this is patient zero. Because Spider-Man, for whatever reason, didn't start that. It was this, to me, that truly started that, because this is the ride that was cloned in all the Universal parks. So I feel like once Universal figured out, we got a hit on our hands, then you see a major change in the landscape, not just in Universal, but in all theme parks of like, we could use these screens and get away with a little bit more. And then 3, like I said, it was basically the only, that this and Jurassic Park really were holding up the weight of Universal Studios Hollywood.
And Mummy. Mm-hmm. You don't think so?
Sure, I guess.
Like when you usually go down the lower lot today, though.
Yeah.
It's usually more Jurassic World and Mummy as opposed to Jurassic World and Transformers over Mummy.
For us.
You say?
For us.
And that's honestly just kind of like you got that coaster itch, right?
Yeah, but for the most part, people are heading over to that Transformers or Mario Kart now. Like I said, there was a lot of things going against this ride that prevent you from seeing it clearly. All that being, put aside, there are really cool things in this ride. The pacing is insane. Some really cool physical set pieces. One of my favorite moments in this ride, the missile that Megatron shoots at you that goes into slow motion and you feel the heat of it. Take cover! When it was firing on all cylinders, no pun intended, it was pretty fun. It is a blast in that sense.
It's got a good queue. I know it's not the screen part.
No.
By any means, but it's got a nice queue that they never take advantage of because they always have you wait in the boring part for whatever reason.
That is true. That's extremely weird. And it's a fun story, very much playing into the same kind of like, we need your help right now.
Yeah.
Person who's on vacation.
It's the super the super MacGuffin chase, the Allspark.
Yeah. But I think 10 is perfectly fair for this ride. It would feel weird to me if it wasn't on the list, even if I don't really particularly like this ride. But that's number 10. Let's move on to number 9. This actually has a score of 4. This was not on my list, but it was on Byron's list, and it is Toy Story Mania. Wait, everyone! Now, I did not have this on my list, but Byron had this at 7. So let's start with you.
I think that's not a muscle job either. I think 7's kind of,
I didn't suggest it was a muscle job.
Look, here's the deal. Like, I think it is one of the best shooter rides out there, if not the best shooter ride out there for many people. Me personally, I might have a little more fun on, say, like Men in Black, which is not a screen ride.
Or Astro Blasters.
Or another non-screen ride, but I would say the majority of people that go to the Disney parks, Ryan, are going to take Toy Story Mania, and the wait times show that.
So, the wait times are
and
ridiculous.
I will say that the gameplay is pretty well done.
Yeah.
It is kind of one of a kind.
It's a motion you're familiar with, huh?
No. I was about to say something, lost the train of thought. I can't pick it up anymore. Oh yeah, because I was going to lead into with any amount of experience, piggybacking off that comment.
Correct.
Sounds fantastic. But yeah, you could be really good at gaming. You could be not so good at gaming. Maybe we don't love it as much as the general public, but if I have to be objective, it has to be on this list.
Oh, but it has to be on this
I think
list.
It does.
I think here, when you talk about it for the context of a shooter, yes, it's a great shooter, but like in terms of like a full ride experience where you're getting like a story and characters, I don't know if it needs to be on the list.
I don't know. I think it's an effective use of screen.
It's literally a midway game.
Like I'm not there for super emergent. I'm there to play a really fun game themed to Toy Story.
Oh my god!
So I think it does use the screens really well. And for the most part, your shooting is like accurate. Like you don't usually have a disabled gun or anything like that. And I don't know. I think it's really well executed.
I think it's a well executed game. Do I think it's a well executed ride? I don't think so.
Screen ride.
I don't. I think ride first, though. The ride is still in the phrase screen ride.
Yeah, well, it is a ride. It uses a screen, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Okay, well,
obviously a lot of people agree. Have you seen the wait time for this?
Yeah, a lot of people agree.
In Tokyo, it's like 3 hours every time in Tokyo.
Yeah, and it's also super long in DCA. I think it's actually also pretty long over in Hollywood studios. But then again, everyone nowadays is born with an iPad in front of their face, so it doesn't surprise me that like they'd be like, I want to do the iPad game IRL, and like I want the big one. I want the big iPad game.
Look at for the people, it's on the list.
Okay, well, it is on the list. It's at number 9. I don't really have too much to say about it. I do think it's a well executed game. I don't know if it's my favorite ride, especially because I this is where I struggle with having any kind of objectivity, because it's just like that IP is so good, and then they use it in the most corny way. Maybe we should have a top 5 shooters app.
That would be good.
I think shooters are probably maybe do I hate those more than screens?
I fear that I haven't done enough shooters.
I think it's because shooters and screens almost always go hand in hand, so it's almost like it's like a double whammy for me. But recently, Byron and I went to the Adventure Dome over in Las Vegas. That's located in the Circus Casino, and I just wanted to get on that SpongeBob ride because I'd heard so much about it, and I did not know it was a shooter. And Byron was just waiting for me to figure out that it's a shooter. And as soon as I discovered it was a shooter, he started laughing.
It was weird because I had to tamper
like a villain.
I had to tamper your expectations too, because you're like, oh God, I can't wait for this ride, but I can't. I was in this weird spot, you see, because I couldn't. I know you don't like spoilers, so I can't spoil it for you. But obviously, I'm like, every time you're super excited about going on this ride, I was like, oh, like, don't expect like that much. Like, I didn't know how to tell you, dude, it's a shooter. It
is a shooter.
And yeah, we could bottle that and save it for another time, because I do think a shooter episode would be really fun.
Yes, it would. I might have to get a little drunk for that one. I think. But anyways, number 9, Toy Story Mania, landing here with 4. Now, landing at number 8 on our aggregate list with also a score of 4, but the reason why I put it at 8 is because this ride is actually on both of our lists, and that is Star Tours. I had Star Tours at number 9, and Byron had Star Tours at number 9. A little mind meld there.
Nice.
Do you want to go first here about why you have Star Tours here?
Look, it's a classic.
It is.
That is not as classic anymore. I love the original like film version of it that they had there, like that they had in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't alive in the 80s, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
I know what you're saying.
Very much a core memory riding that the first time. Pre-show lady with the awesome hairdo, the no smoking guy and the flash photography. It felt like a full-fledged Star Wars experience. Mm-hmm. They had updated it to the Adventures Continue somewhere around, like 2008 or 9 or so?
Something like that.
Maybe a little later. No, because I waited 4 hours for it. Oh, my God. Yeah. I waited 4 hours for it the day it opened.
They brought out the tape markers over on Main Street.
Yes. Did you wait multiple hours for this too? Oh, man. I think it was like our freshman year.
I believe so.
I don't think we knew each other yet.
No, we were just two parkheads, two ships passing in the night.
We might have been in that same line. Didn't even know it. No. But either way, some people... I like myself included sometimes, depending on what, I guess, version you get. Because there's like a bunch of combinations at this point. Sometimes you get a good run. Sometimes you don't. Like, I guess the variety keeps it fresh, but
it does.
It doesn't have that same magic that I think would have put a little higher on this list from the original iteration.
This is an interesting discussion just in general, because we're in an era now where screen ride, like I mentioned up top in the intro, it can mean so many different things. It could mean, these kind of hybrid live action kind of like trackless dark ride uses screens, or like uses a KUKA arm, things like that. Or it could be a straight up motion simulator. And I feel like I have somehow gone backwards in the sense of when for example, when you have something like Spider-Man or Transformers and it gets introduced onto the scene, it's like, oh my God, it's like a motion simulator, but you're moving through physical environments, and it's like there's a novelty to that, and it's like look at how cool it is that they're like mixing live action elements and environments with these screens that are so well hidden you can't even tell it's a screen kind of thing. Now that's everywhere, and it's like You're not fooling me. I know that's a screen right there.
Yeah.
You're not.
And by the way, talk about catalyst for screen rides. Like, this is the ultimate catalyst for screen rides.
But this is screen ride in its purest form. That's why I'm saying I'm going backwards, because like you fall for like the siren song of like the live action blend screen ride, and then after those become just like ubiquitous and they're you can't escape them. Then it's almost like I kind of miss the old days when it was just a good old fashioned. We're not trying to trick you. You're gonna sit down. You're gonna watch this movie, but man, we're gonna make it feel very, very real in that sense. And I think when my mind is already in the mindset of like, oh, I'm watching a screen, I am no longer trying that game of like, oh, well, can I pick out the screens from like the live action elements? And I'm just taking in the experience wholesale.
A moving theater.
And it's more like a movie at that sense. And then I could like really get more immersed. I actually feel more immersed now in these pure motion simulator settings than something like, as good as it is, like a Spider-Man or like a Transformers. So Star Tours, I've noticed on my more recent rides, just it whips harder than I remember it. And I have a lot of fun on Star Tours personally. And the combinations, like you mentioned, there are 3 different stories that all meld together in Star Tours, and you get 3 different combinations. There's like almost endless permutations for this ride. And I do enjoy that. I agree the original is probably the most fun because of the nostalgia of it. But now even mixing in new stories with like the Mandalorian, I'm charmed by Star Tours now, and that is also acknowledging that it makes absolutely no sense where it is.
And just as from a ride system standpoint, this is basically the OG of like popular simulator. I mean, before this, it was just basically like the system was used for fighter jet pilots, right?
Yeah, no, it was revolutionary for the time. Again, I can't wait to cover this as its own episode. But I also think that Star Tours does a really good job of building a world within the IP of something that's like a juggernaut like Star Wars. Like this is going to sound crazy, but I think the world building in Star Tours is better than all of the world building of Batuu. In Galaxy's Edge. I don't know what the hell that world is, but Star Tours, I get that it's a touring company. You could see all the different destinations. All of like the travel agents have fun personalities. Rex, one of the most iconic characters of all time. No one's like sees somebody in Batuu and is like, that's my guy. There's nothing like that. In fact, the one person who is that's my guy in Batuu is from Star Tours. It's Rex in the cantina. He's the only person I look forward to seeing. There's not one character that's original to Batuu that I like.
A dead Ronto?
Yeah, or that fucking like guy that's by the drinking fountain by the bathrooms. That dude, the eyeball, the garbage monster. Even that, like that's not even really that original. It's from kind of like the movies. So I just feel like the world building and the storytelling of Star Tours is hard to deny, and but apparently the world building not better than Toy Story Midway Mania, because Byron had that at 7 and Star Tours at 8. So
I'm just saying, what's a better ride? And I'm being a little objective here. Whatever.
I don't know.
Do I ride Star Tours more than Midway Mania? Yeah, I do. It's for the people.
I see. Okay, well, we're going to move on to number 7 here. Number 7, coming in with 7 points, nice energy there, is Escape from Gringotts in the Universal Orlando Resort. This is kind of like the weird afterthought Harry Potter ride.
It's weird that it's gotten to that point, right?
Because there's just so many of them now. I do think this is actually an underrated ride.
Well, at this point.
Because
it's gotten buried in so many other like e-ticket Potter attractions, right?
That's right, yeah. Oh, and by the way, where was this on my list? This was at number 7 on my list, and it was at number 8 on your list.
Part roller coaster. It doesn't do that much roller coastering, but you combine that with screens, it's already going to have a bit of an advantage to get on this list.
Yeah. What do you call, because you're the resident coaster head here, the launch that is on this? It's kind of like a launch, but it's more like there's like a tilt track. And you go, it's like a drop that comes out of nowhere by the track tilting into the screen. That's a fun moment.
Yeah.
Is that just called?
I would just call it a tilt track.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
It's like an indoor version of what they got over at Cedar Cedar Point now.
It's a less extreme version of Siren's Curse. Yeah.
It's just inside. Bellatrix Lestrange or whatever. Is her
I think
name
that's Lestrange, yeah.
Yeah, whatever her name
Helena
is.
Bonham Carter.
When Helena Bonham Carter is torturing you with her wand, and then you get tilted and you go off on a little launch there, I guess, drop if you want to call it that. It's definitely the only screen ride we have here that is a roller coaster.
Yep.
And I think that alone makes it worthy of the list and a novelty in and of itself.
Yeah, and I think it's neat in a sense that even though it is a screen ride, it does feel like you're in an expansive space. It does feel like you're deep underground.
Well, the queue does a lot of heavy lifting.
Yes,
because the queue is absolutely incredible. In fact, I think if you want to just think about it from that perspective, from a queue perspective, it's of the Potter rides. You can make an argument that it's the second best one, I think, after probably Ministry. Maybe Forbidden Journey is a little bit better. I personally like this queue quite a bit because Hagrid's queue is not good. This is probably the second best queue
behind Ministry.
Although
Forbidden Journey is amazing though, because Hogwarts is like going through a Hogwarts castle is like that's pretty iconic.
It's just you feel the scale a little bit more though in this one. Like you walk in and you're in Gringotts, and then like you said, the elevator going down, which is also a screen, makes you feel like you're going down, but it's actually used pretty well there. Very similar to the elevator sequence that you see in Journey to the Center of the Earth over at Disney Sea. I think this ride's world building is also excellent.
Yep. Fun storyline going along with it. Pretty easy to pick up.
And it uses the score really well too.
Yes.
Very fun ending to this. I think it's a very solid ride.
Yeah, and I do believe kind of overlooked at this point.
The only one that's more overlooked, obviously, is the Hogwarts Express itself. And then I guess, fucking what the hell's in the Flight of the Hippogriff.
Yeah.
I almost called it whatever the name of the guy is, Buckbeak. Yeah, there you go. Moving on to number 6 on the list, and we're staying in Potterland, and that is Forbidden Journey, coming in with 11 points.
Watch out! Let's get out, quick!
Now, this was number 5 on my list, and it was number 6 on Byron's list. I do think it's incredibly funny, by the way, that the Harry Potter franchise has spawned mostly screen rides.
And I would say universally the most popular and coveted ride is not the screen ride.
Exactly. I think it's funny.
I get pretty motion sick on this, I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of others do as well. The queue, once again, doing a lot of heavy lifting, but I got to tip my cap to it being kind of the first full-fledged Kuka arm dark ride, which may have spawned another ride that is not on this list because I don't consider it a screen ride.
No.
That is fantastic. And I don't know, I think it uses the screens in a very innovative way. Even if I'm not in love with it, I still enjoyed going on the ride. My favorite parts of the ride, I will say, though, are not the screen parts.
No, absolutely. The screen parts, I'm like, oh boy, we got to sit here and watch this and hold in that bomb. But I will say that, it is worth mentioning that when this ride came out, the hype for it was crazy. There was a lot of people online in the forum saying, is this the best ride in the world? And I'm not kidding. That seems ridiculous now, but at the time, it was a genuine question. Is this the best ride in the world? Do you remember that, right?
Yeah.
And people were like, a lot of folks were like, this might be. Because I remember the hype of it before it came to Universal Studios Hollywood and hearing about it and being very excited. And then we had the 3D version at first, which was that was double vom. If you remember that, how much worse it was when it was 3D, and then they converted it, and the conversion isn't seamless. I'll say that. I don't know which one was better or worse, but yeah, like you said, innovative system. A really cool way to blend the screens with the live action elements. If you saw our full episode on this, the use of the turntable and the little mini pods, the little mini domes, the little mini theaters, if you will, that the Kuka arms put you inside of for the screen portions. It is a very seamless system and transition. Like Byron said, my favorite parts are for sure not the screen portions, just because, I think what's interesting about it is like when you are in those little domes, your little eggs, and you're watching the screen portions like in the Quidditch field and all that stuff, as a simulator, it is not that thrilling or exciting in those moments like Star Tours or any pure simulators are. It's like very clearly like, oh, this is like you're in like a little temporary simulator, and then you move to the cool part after that. And Byron, like I said, he clocked this. It is just under 50% for screen usage in this. But if you were to remove the screens in this, yeah, you're staring at a white dome.
You'd be on a little naked carousel with no projections, and
which is why it's so odd to talk about this in the context of a screen ride, because every good thing I have to say about this ride does not involve the screens.
Fair. But it would be kind of weird if you didn't have any Quidditch or flying around on a broomstick. So the screens do.
I think you could do Quidditch without screens, though. To be honest, I think you could. You could have said that imagine if there was no live action Dementors.
Put the Kuka on a roller coaster track.
No, I mean just like even having you like in like a dark room and having like animatronic characters on broomsticks flying around. You don't need to be like, oh, I'm actually playing Quidditch.
I don't know if you'd be able to sell the space though.
You would just need to feel like you're in the middle of it for a second. Like you can say you would, like I said, if you were to only experience the Dementors through the screen. And I was like, oh, I wish they would have done that live action. You probably also would be like, how could you do that live action? And now the live action part of that is the coolest part of that ride, arguably, maybe second to the Whomping Willow. And I don't know. I just feel like all the cool parts of this ride aren't the screens. I mean, when you're going back to the Great Hall and you're moving through that, the effect of that screen, I don't know how they pull that off of like where the screen looks like it has some dimension when you see all the when you see
like Dumbledore and stuff.
Yeah, Dumbledore
like
and all
really
the kids.
End.
Yeah, at the very end. That part is like the one part of the screens where I'm like, oh, that's a good, well done,
Yeah. Screen's like 20 feet tall.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And they do some fun stuff with screens in like the queue, like when they're in the Defense Against the Dark Arts room. The best parts of this ride aren't the screens, but it is a screen ride. I think where it lands here is fair because of that.
Yes, I agree.
But anyways, let's move on to number 5. We're now into the top 5. And again, we originally conceived of this episode as a top 5 list. So now seeing where the cutoff would have been is interesting. Like having an episode of top 5 screen rides and Forbidden Journey not being in it, or, even
Gringotts or Star Tours
or Transformers, it's kind of wild. So now here we are, top 5. Number 5 is a classic, and it's one of the OGs. And it's Soarin'. This could be Soarin' over the world. It could be Soarin' over California. This had a score of 12. I gave this a number 6 ranking. Byron gave this a number 4 ranking. So let's start with Byron.
And look, even if there was no Patrick, I think it would still wind up on this list.
He's talking about Patrick Warburton.
That's right.
For
the chief flight attendant.
Yeah.
I mean, what can I say? This has been around since 2001. DCA, when it was Soarin' over California.
Mm-hmm.
It's not doing too much, just a little bit of tilt, a little rock back and forth. It's a revolutionary ride system, though.
I think it gets a lot of its juice from the beginning, where you actually feel like you're taking off. And the knowledge that even though you're looking at a screen that's simulating flight, in reality, you know how high up you are. And I think that holds a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And it makes it feel a little bit more of a plussed experience than just like, Star Tours, for example, where they're purely just using the screen to sell you on the idea of flight. Whereas this, like, you quite literally could feel that you're suspended very high in the air. And, that mixed with the score, mixed with how beautiful the cinematography and the actual screen, like the content that's actually on the screen itself, is gorgeous and extremely well done. The transitions are amazing. It's again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Star Tours, and that you could take in the experience a little bit more at its purest form, I think, because you're not trying to like trick yourself into thinking what is a screen or what isn't a screen. You're just taking in the finished product.
And it's like real footage.
Not
all of it anymore in Soarin' over the world.
Yeah,
There's definitely got its CGI going on.
Well, luckily California is still around. If you're asking me, I was thinking California.
Yeah, you show up for Food and Wine Festival.
That's right.
They bring it back to Disney World as well sometimes.
That's right.
But yeah, so for the most part, you got a lot of real footage, like helicopter footage that they got. It also doesn't try and do too much. It's not trying to like pound you through some mission or adventure. So it just works really well with the ride system. You're just really at peace and you're just taking in the beauty of it all.
No, and I mean, like, it kind of goes against what I was saying earlier in that, like, I wouldn't say this exactly builds a world or tells a story, but, you know, it does the other things so well. And it's not trying to hide the fact that it's not trying to tell the story. Like, you literally are cutting. You're cutting from different environments. Like, you're watching like a highlight reel, and it's not trying to pretend that it's anything but that. And it just does that extremely well. It's like the In-N-Out burger of simulator rides. It knows what it is, and it does that one thing very, very well, and it doesn't try and get too cute. But man, is it effective even after all these years? So I think number 5 is a very good spot for it to land. Moving on to number 4. This is a newcomer, and it may be surprising somewhat that it's this low, but we have Battle at the Ministry, Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry over at Epic Universe in a Universal Orlando Resort.
I don't think it should be any higher.
I think some people might disagree. I think that, well, again, very similar to Forbidden Journey, there are people out there that are saying this is the best ride in the world.
Give it some time.
But you know,
give
I'm
it
right.
some re-rides.
I don't personally think that, but there are people out there that think that. I think.
Look, and I still don't think it's a bad ride by any means.
No, I don't think it's a bad ride.
It's still a good ride.
Well, answer this: do you think it's an insane take that some people think this is the best ride in the world?
On a first ride, if someone got off it the first time and it was like, this is one of the best rides in the world, I wouldn't fault them for that. I mean, I honestly, if they to this day and been on it many times and still thought so, I'm just not there.
No, I'm definitely not there.
I'm not there, but there is a lot of really good stuff to take from it. There is a weird essence to the ride, kind of like a really mature essence to the ride that you just don't really get in theme park rides.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a slightly darker tone, and it like, I don't know. There's nothing like it in terms of scale. I just don't think I've ever been in dark ride rooms that are that large.
No, that's true.
It does use more practical than I expected.
What I don't like about it, because we haven't covered this ride in its own episode yet, so I've kind of like not been able to air out some of the takes that I have about this, but I will say that I think it's a good ride, but my overwhelming feeling is it feels still like a half measure, like the most ultimate half measure for Universal to take. Again, they have publicly stated on something like Secret Life of Pets even that the direction of the company would be to stray away from this screen-heavy direction. And then they come out with this ride, arguably the crown jewel in their IP treasure chest, the one they had to nail, and it's heavily, heavily reliant on screens. Yes, those screens are used somewhat cleverly, like you have like the elevator itself, the floating elevator, the one that you actually see while you're in your own floating elevator, with projections on, figures inside the elevator in front of a large screen to give it dimension. But it's still like, there's no point in me looking at that elevator with those projection faces and the giant screen behind them where I'm like, wow, I'm so glad they didn't use screens on this. Like, I'm very aware I am looking at screens, and I think it almost like if it was just a giant screen, I'd be like, okay, it's a screen. But because there's an elevator that's physical in front of it, it's still that kind of like, all right, I could see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to wow me with like the practical element in this very screen heavy environment you're putting me in, but I'm still aware of it. Like I feel like I'm still trying to be like tricked a little bit, and I can't fully be immersed when that's happening. Not to mention that it's going to make people sick. It is making people sick. Like, I remember when I was watching it, or when I was on it, I was like, I didn't feel sick personally, but I was on the cusp. Even the people in our group in the media preview, they were complaining that they felt nauseous after. And I just couldn't help but think, like, why not just go full out like they did with Monsters Unchained on the practical and have the screens be very background, like small little enhancements. I just don't quite understand the strategy here. I mean, I could be, look, I mean, I know that's like pretty negative to be talking about something that's a top 4. I mean, but like Byron said, the things that it does do well, the scale is unmatched, both in the queue and the ride. There's the scene in this ride when you're in like the little archive room, not little, huge archive room, and the animatronics that are in there, the Death Eaters, are so realistic that I thought they were actors. You see something like that, and it's not like its coolness is almost kind of like cut off a little bit at the knees, because you're like, well, you see, you did it right there. Just do it the whole way. Don't do it halfway. Do it the whole way. Like
I don't know if that's possible to build that.
I think it is.
I don't know. I think they did a really good job with the lighting. I think in many of the scenes, you don't know where the projection starts and when the practical ends. I think just aesthetically, I think it looks great. My biggest gripe with it is I don't think there's enough wee. Like wee. Like,
No.
The motion of the ocean isn't quite there for me.
No, and
The size of the ship, massive.
yes, I mean, yeah. The thing is, I mean, it's basically a super version of Spider-Man. Like the ride system is very similar to that. It's just that it has a higher y-axis in terms of like its ability to move up and down. Like I think they actually looked at oil drillers to help build this ride system in terms of like just like think of like something on a giant screw that could go up and down. But even the climax of this ride is so heavily reliant on that screen. And I know we're talking about top 5 screen rides, so that's why it's here. And I think for what it's worth, it is well executed. So that's why we have it this high. But I can't say I enjoy it. But it gets the job done.
It's a good ride.
It's a good ride.
Only time will tell how well it holds up.
Yeah, no,
But
I mean,
definitely has to be on this list. I think some of the best looking screens
sure.
that you're going to find imaginable.
Which
So,
we also thought when we first saw Transformers, which we also thought when we first saw, Forbidden Journey. Now you look at those and they look incredibly old, not just because of the wear and tear of time, but also just like every year we are going up in K in resolution. First it was, it was 1080p, then we went to K.
that's why
4K,
I think
8K.
it really helps that the lighting is so good on this ride.
Yeah. I'm just saying in the future
don't-
when we're at
you're
32K,
not,
it's going to
you're-
look like shit.
You're not seeing the edges, if that makes sense.
I guess that's true. It's hard to judge this through like, do I think it's a fun ride? I guess it is in terms of like what it was after. Am I going to execute screens and blend them in with real environments in a convincing way today? I think they did do a good job. Like I think it's probably the best of its kind in that sense. It's still not as good as the only practical, but we're not here to talk about that. So
Great use in the queue
sure.
for the screens.
Yeah,
Just an amazing queue in general, but
Q is incredible.
Yeah.
Maybe the best Q in the world.
probably.
It's either that or Rise, right? I mean, it's got to be. It's those two fighting it out.
Yeah.
But that ministry room is insane, and that is all practical, which is amazing.
Which, speaking of rides, not on this list, not a screen ride.
No, it is not.
Pretty awesome.
It's-
A 2019 e-ticket non-screen ride that is also not a roller coaster.
And when I was thinking about like what makes a screen ride in terms of like option B, like if you take out the screens, it's no longer functional. This was the ride that came to mind when I was making that rule, because I remember when we got off this ride, I was like, what is the B mode for this ride?
Well, that's why it has a lot of downtime.
Yeah, I have no idea. Because like Rise of the Resistance, for example, its B mode is screens. That's like, okay, if the practical
True.
isn't working.
There's that one wall. That's it. Like, but
Yeah.
you still have the guns.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, okay, you're at you have a let's just pretend it's down. You don't have screens for that. At least you're still dancing between those guns.
I mean, even the elevator lift drop is still, it's
Yeah, it's still like a drop tower.
so, anyways, but no, I think for what this was trying to execute, it's the best version of that we have, I think. That being said, we're moving to number 3. Now, this is interesting because I don't think of this as a screen ride in my mind, but when you look at it, it kind of is. And that's Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, coming in with a score of 16. This was number 3 on my list and a number 3 at Byron's list. Now, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, maybe it's not like a screen as in like a flat like movie screen type
No.
that you're used to, but this whole ride is just,
Projections.
It's projections on They're basically screens of different shapes
and different sizes and like moving screens that are like, moving projection spaces.
Yes. And I think a reason why I wanted it so high on this list is because they're kind of creating like a 3D through like the walls and like the stuff that they do project onto.
No, yeah, and I mean
there's dimension to it.
All the surfaces, like for instance, the one thing that like the Battle at the Ministry does that's like, I could see what they were doing there to add some, to add some dimension to it, having the physical elevator projecting on that and having a screen behind that. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is that the entire ride. Like every surface that is being projected on is its own dimension in front of other, like a deck of cards, essentially, of just moving on a moving deck of cards. So like the one trick that Battle at the Ministry does, Mickey and Minnie is doing it the entire time. They're like constantly creating dimension to the point where you're like, is this a screen ride? I think the fact that you have to ask that means they did a pretty good job.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, Mickey Minnie, it's a cartoon.
Yes.
So it just sells really well.
Yeah.
In this format.
Yeah, like the 2D animated kind of cartoon brought to life. And even like the parts that are, I think, are they rear projections on those animatronics, or are they have to be?
I think it's like inside the head.
It's got the Snow White dwarf.
I think it's something like that.
Those are really well done too. And the parts, I don't know. It's for some reason doesn't feel like a screen ride. I think because of all that dimension and the fact that the things that they're projecting on are constantly changing, even to the effect of like still one of the coolest transformations I've seen in a ride is when you're in like the boiler room crusher and it transforms back into the beautiful park, and all of the surfaces change in tandem perfectly with the projections. It's so cool.
Yeah. And it also helps that they paint things wonderfully too. The stuff that isn't projected.
If Battle at the Ministry is like, okay, we're going to add this to give you to give it a little perspective, that's just kind of like trying to fulfill the box of like give perspective in this one scene. Whereas like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway like makes it into like an art form. Like it's like you could tell every scene was very, very well thought out in terms of like, okay, this surface is going to come up here, project onto that. That's where the bushes are. Then this one in the back over here is going to be where like the carousel is. Now put this here at this size, and then we'll move it. And it's just like everything was thought of as like a moving piece of art where it doesn't feel as gimmicky to me. Now, some people probably don't agree with that. Like I think they think like, oh, it's still very much a screen ride. But for me, it worked.
Yeah. And some might think it is not a screen ride at all. And
I'm sure there's a person out there that's commenting right now saying, eat shit, Disney boys.
Yeah. But, just from the rules that we have created for this, if you went through this ride without the enhancements of the projections or the screen parts of it, you'd have no Mickey and Minnie going through the environments. You just have some painted canvases.
I'd also be willing to bet that if you were to ask people to name the top 5 screen rides in the world off the top of their head, and I'm talking sickos, like if you talk to theme park sickos and like, what are the top 5 screen rides in the world? I'd be willing to bet that a large majority of them wouldn't even name this because they wouldn't even think about it as a screen ride. You'd have to be like, oh, what about Mickey and Minnie? And they probably would follow that up with, oh, I guess that is a screen ride. That right there alone should say it all. And I know that's anecdotal. That's not statistical, but
there's really only one part of this ride when it goes into like full screen.
Mode. when they're going over the waterfall. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think number 3 is a pretty good place for this to land. But I could understand that maybe some of the flack will catch in the comments for that. But I stand by that. Number 2, The Adventures of Spider-Man.
Doc Ock on the loose. This could be the most dangerous night of my life and yours.
This is a classic, perhaps the one that really truly did start it all. Even if not, it didn't start like the full wave of it. I still think that's Transformers, but this was definitely the first to do it. It comes in with a score of 17. Byron has this as his number 1. I had this as my number 4, actually. So let's start with Byron.
It's a really good ride. There you go. I mean, this is a 1999 attraction that somehow still feels ahead of its time. They've tried to make attractions like this, i.e. Transformers, and they just haven't been able to pull it off the same way they did with this one. and it just feels timeless. And they even updated it, I think, around like 2010 or 11 to the 4K. Everything just really works. Like the humor of Spider-Man, like having all those, you know, iconic villains in there, making it feel like it's in a comic book. Once again, it's kind of similar to Mickey and Minnie, where it seems like cartoon translates really good to the screen ride format. And
because you don't have the really almost impossible task now to blend live action real environment with screen environment. When it's a cartoon world, it's a little easier to suspend your disbelief, I think.
Yeah.
I had this at number 4. I actually have Battle at the Ministry on my personal list at number 2, mainly just because Battle at the Ministry is a enhanced version of Spider-Man, not only in just like the ride system itself, like it quite literally goes higher than Battle at the Ministry, but the screens are better. The blend of that environment, the physical environment and animatronics with those screens is far more advanced than Spider-Man. Again, I think for what Battle at the Ministry is trying to do, trick you into blending live action elements with screens, there isn't a ride in the world that does it better than that.
True.
It's just I don't like that ride. in like that version of that, like that kind of ride, I suppose.
Which one do you have more fun on?
Spider-Man.
There you go.
But I think Battle at the Ministry objectively is a better ride, like in terms of like what it accomplishes, or what it's setting out to accomplish and how it does accomplish that.
True. But I think most people it's just going to be, which ride did I have more fun on?
I'm always going to have more fun on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I also like the Spider-Man IP better than Harry Potter. I personally am not that much of a Potter guy. So, you know, but in terms of
But I'm not a huge comic book guy either.
No, that's what I'm saying. But if we're going to analyze this through the lens of like what accomplishes what it's setting out to do better, I think Battle at the Ministry does it a little better than Spider-Man. But I can't deny that I have way more fun on Spider-Man. So maybe you're right. Either way, they're each top 5.
And the other thing is Spider-Man, there's been such a large window of time to confirm this where I feel like it's just never going to fade.
Yeah.
Where I just don't know that quite yet for Ministry. As much as I like that right now.
It's like Wembanyama and LeBron.
There you go.
LeBron's been around forever. He is eternal. The longevity is hard to deny. Just like Spider-Man.
Yeah, Wembanyama, you know, you don't know how long that body can hold up.
No. Yeah, we don't know how long that ride system can hold up either in Battle at the Ministry. For those of you, that's a very basketball-coded metaphor there, but Wembanyama is to Battle at the Ministry as LeBron is to Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. The new and cool toy or the tried and true Eternal. There's no way this isn't going to be at least top 3 on any list. Just because it's still I mean, it won like best dark ride how many years in a row? Like a decade straight almost.
Was it Forbidden Journey that finally got it to break?
Yeah, I think so. It's almost like voter fatigue after a while. It's like, yeah, this ride kicks ass. It's really good. I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah. If you haven't been on it, you should go on it. And
almost too good. I think it might have sent Universal down that kind of that road of screen rides.
Yeah, but I don't think
although they had Back to the Future well before that.
Yeah.
Which was inspired by Star Tours. That's why like Star Tours is such a catalyst for this. But even Disney, when they had such a big hit with Star Tours, they like quickly replicated it over in Disney World.
Yes.
Did Body Wars immediately after that. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we back off a bit. Everyone's getting sick on Body Wars. And like they kind of stepped away. But
that's number 2. Number 1. I mean, I think we all knew, maybe not, but look, it's Flight of Passage.
And you know what? That might not be for everyone. But it's we definitely are on that side of the fence, though, where like Flight of Passage is elite.
I fucking love
and
this ride.
Is going to get its due diligence in an episode and go through the world-class tests, which is obviously going to set our biases aside. And
I think we're going to get some flack in the comments for this one. I think people are going to be like, you guys are very Disney pilled and Flight of Passage is overrated. I can already hear it. Like,
here's the deal, though. I'm not really into Avatar.
Neither am I. I think it's fine. I'm not like, you know.
And yet I freaking love this ride.
Well, first off, again, I already said what my sensibilities. I like when I'm not treated like a child. In the sense of like they're trying to trick me into thinking this is a screen or not a screen by blending in with live environments. It's never going to be that seamless. I'm always going to kind of recognize, okay, that's a screen. You're not fooling anybody. And it takes me out of it. Flight of Passage, like Soarin', like Star Tours, like Back to the Future, it's just a straight up, we're going to show you a beautiful cinematic journey. You're going to already know it's a screen, and you're not going to even think about it for about a minute in, because that's how good the film is going to be. Now, I will say, and I think they have cleaned this up, sometimes you get on Flight of Passage and the projection leaves a little to be desired. Like I've been on it before where large scenes are just blurry. That's, like a wear and tear thing. I think I did see recently that they refurbished it and it is back to normal. But I will say, if you look at every ride on this list, Flight of Passage, Spider-Man, Mickey and Minnie, Battle at the Ministry, Soarin', Forbidden Journey, Gringotts, Star Tours, Toy Story, Transformers, that was our 10. Every single one of those rides, if you are able to wave a little wand and be like, this ride is going to be 100% functional and firing on all cylinders, there's not a ride, I think, that can top this one. And of those 10, this is the experience that I feel delivers the most.
Yep.
Just because, if this screen quality and the projection is perfect, first off, the simulator system, the ride system itself, the Banshee that you're riding, the living nature of it, you could feel what appears to be an animal breathing as you're sitting on top of it. The score, the mix of the scents and even the spray of water and the wind. It is just the most sophisticated, realistic motion simulator in the world, full stop. And that's because Jimmy did it, Jimmy Cameron. And that guy's a crazy person. There was no way he wasn't going to make have this be anything but state of the art. And you feel it. It feels like a movie. It feels like you're getting a movie in a ride. I don't know how other ride. I mean, yeah, it's hard to deny that.
It's Soarin' for Pandora.
Yeah, except
it's doing a lot more than Soarin'.
10x'd. You got to ask yourself, what kind of screen ride do you like? Do you like motion simulators? If you do, I think Flight of Passage is going to be your number one. If you like that blend of live action and screens, you're probably going to have Battle at the Ministry or Spider-Man as your number one. I think it's really going to come down to personal preference there. I fall into the former camp. Would you say you do as well, Byron? Or you had Spider-Man once, maybe you don't. Maybe you fall into the latter, the blend of live action and screen.
I don't know, because Mickey and Minnie is... would you consider that all like live action blend?
I would.
Yeah, when it's done right, man, it is... gosh.
But does it slap harder than Flight of Passage? If you want to go back to which one you have the most fun on?
Flight of Passage, I just think is kind of an enigma.
Yeah, because Battle at the Ministry, like you were saying, Spider-Man, Battle at the Ministry is so technologically impressive. You're like, wow, you're asking yourself, how did they do that part of there? They're like, that's impressive. But am I having a lot of fun? If we're talking about what ride am I most excited to have a nice little line beer for and just be blissed out, Flight of Passage. Screen ride aside, it's near the top of the list of this is going to be awesome.
Well, similar to Soarin', Flight of Passage has this amazing way of kind of fluffing your emotions.
Yeah,
it's an emotion fluffer.
It's very good.
It's all continuous, one shot basically.
And it stood the test of time. This line is still an enormous ordeal to get into. Regularly clocking lines at over 2 hours. You still have to rope drop it and do the unofficial rope drop in Animal Kingdom to get onto this thing. That's, almost a decade now more than a decade now after it was introduced, right?
2017, right?
Oh, it's 2017? Oh my God.
I thought it was 2017, right? I think it was 2017.
It's getting close to 10 years and we're still seeing the craze for it and nobody is like, that's unearned or that doesn't make any sense.
Now, it's only a matter of time, by the way, that they're going to have to give it a proper refurb. Yes. It does help that it's multiple theaters, so you could kind of work in one.
Yeah.
While
that'll
still
help
keeping
the capacity.
That's the... And so here's the thing. They're not in a good position to do it right now. They're not going to be in a good position to do it for the next couple years. I think after the Encanto attraction opens and the Indiana Jones attraction open, that's when they're going to make their move on... doing some sort of lengthy refurbishment.
Well, I think it's going to be sooner, and I think it's going to be...
But then how do you handle the capacity? The demand?
I think it's going to be tied to the movies, because the third one's coming out very soon, and I feel like that's the sign to be I wouldn't be surprised if they're already filming some sort of new version.
Maybe. I just don't see them shutting that down yet when they have what was Dinoland USA completely down soon, especially when Dinosaur closes. There's not enough rides in that park.
Dinosaur wasn't exactly pulling in that much capacity.
But it was a ride.
Sure, but I mean...
It was a thrill ride. It's like you got to have some sort of value on that ticket to Animal Kingdom. Yeah. I think they're going to wait till the new rides are open.
Because you have Cali, you have Expedition Everest, you have Kilimanjaro Safaris. Gets pretty slim after that if you don't have Flight of Passage.
And obviously Flight of Passage is the big one. Like everyone's gunning for that one. So
yeah.
I think they're going to wait until there's a shiny new toy on the block, perhaps a couple before they quietly, like in an off season, like, all right, let's...
I mean, but, Hollywood Studios doesn't have that many attractions either. And, Rise is regularly down there. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but they're not refurbishing it.
No, that's true, I guess. I guess I see what you're saying. Either way, it's only going to go up, I think, in the sense of as time goes on, because they're going to refurb it at some point.
They will continue investing in it.
Yeah.
They know what it's worth.
And the movies being still as successful as they are, I don't think this is going to go anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, chime off in the comments. Do you think it's justified at number one? And what camp do you fall in? Do you fall into the live action blend, or do you like just pure simulator? I'd be curious. I almost want to throw up a poll over on our fourth wall. That would be fun. Over at fyapod.com. Anyways, moving on to some honorable mentions. These are, of course, ones on our personal list that did not make it to the aggregate list. I will say outright, I do want to shout out Smuggler's Run. It was at number 11 on the aggregate list. If this, because it was actually on Byron and I's both of our lists. It was actually
I had it number 10.
And I had it number 10 as well, which gave it a score 2.
That's hilarious.
And it didn't make it onto the aggregate list because it was number 10 on both of our lists.
Wow.
And that was because of the inclusion of Midway Mania and also the inclusion of Transformers on our personals. That's how it got beat. But Smuggler's Run, outright honorable mention there. It was both on both of our lists, just at the bottom. It's a fun ride.
I think it depends highly on the group of people you're with.
That's true.
And whether or not you're the pilot, if you're into that kind of thing.
I mean, it's a gamified simulator, pure simulator experience. Q's amazing. And yet, I find it very one and done. Like, you've done it. Once you do it the first time, every time after that, to me, it loses value.
Yeah. We're going to get a new version, though, soon. So, with the Mandalorian and stuff like that. So, 2026, I believe, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I guess it's also just like it's so similar to Star Tours in the sense that it's the same IP. They're both pure simulators. Obviously, Smuggler's Run a little bit more enhanced and gamified, but I still prefer the Star Tours experience.
Well, yeah, because Star Tours isn't like on the same exact coaxium mission
every time. Yeah, Star Tours has endless permutations. So,
I got 2 coaxiums this time.
I guess do you value the variety more? Or do you value the the enhanced experience? I kind of think I value the variety
because you're not flying. That's the thing is like Millennium Falcon. You're not flying through the most iconic stuff. You're in on an iconic vessel.
What's funny is this.
But you're basically just going through. What would you say you're even flying through?
Well, Star Tours. It's funny because Star Tours is number 9 on both of our lists, and Smuggler's Run is number 10 on both of our lists. I actually toiled personally over this decision. By the way, like I actually switched the order of these a couple times because I was like, I think Smuggler's Run is maybe the better ride experience in the one thing it does, but Star Tours does so many other things.
It depends. If you like the gaming part of it,
I don't.
But I think you're flying through more interesting stuff that is Star Wars when you're on Star Tours, as opposed to Millennium Falcon, which is...
Well, the gaming mechanics of this ride aren't really that dependent on the user. You're basically just flashing buttons, and that's that. You're not really... There's no real skill involved in this game, like Midway Mania. So as a game, it kind of sucks. But like, I don't know what that score means at the end. What does that score mean?
Yeah. I just think a lot of the heavy lifting is that you are in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. It's got an amazing load area.
Exactly,
a cool queue.
The gaming feels slapped on in a lot of ways. It's
like by the way, you spoke about the projection carousel.
Yeah.
Like Forbidden Journey earlier.
Yeah.
Scott Trowbridge, I believe, was he obviously helped develop the wizarding world before heading over and then
Yeah.
doing Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
I wonder if he brought that over.
For Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, because then they do the carousel with the kind of your personal screen as
It's
well
very
for the ride
slow.
vehicle.
You don't even notice it. It does match the movement of the simulator, though, to hide it a little bit. Like
Yeah.
when you're in the cockpit at the very, very beginning and you're getting out of the station. I mean, we did an episode on this, to a very controversial episode on Smuggler's Run.
Oh, wait, because it got world class.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's for the people.
Sure.
The people love it.
It's a great first ride attraction.
And we had a very convincing guest.
first ride attractions. You're going to get some excitement on this one,
Oh, yeah.
especially if
You
you're
know what? I will. Yeah, guys. I think I said in the episode, my dad loved.
if
this
you're in the
ride.
cockpit with people who are riding this for the first time and you're one of those people as well, you're going to have a great time. It's every ride that is subsequent from that moment on that is the issue.
It's the only ride that my dad has made a suggestion for.
That and Popeye.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Dudley Do Right.
Dudley
That's
Do
right.
Right.
Dudley Do Right is his favorite, but I do remember him casually chiming in I wouldn't mind doing that Millennium Falcon ride again.
I think it's hilarious. I'm sure the ride designers of both of those attractions figured they'd end up in the Venn diagram of somebody. Just like,
Yeah.
I ride for these two. I fuck with these two rides real hard. Do you have any personal honorable mentions?
Oh gosh, what? No, because everything else here made the list. No, I mean it was gonna just be Smuggler's Run.
You don't have Skull Island, Reign of Kong on there?
I can't say I do. I'm not willing to put Supercharged on there
No.
either.
I have one, and the only reason I actually probably would have listed this, but I know you haven't been on it, so I saved it.
It's a Europe one.
Yeah, it's it's Asia. It's a Tokyo Disney Sea Peter Pan.
Oh, interesting.
Peter Pan is a very, I mean, it's a screen ride. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a blend. I just don't think it's amazing, to be honest. And I was kind of disappointed that it was a screen ride.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why this. Okay, I want to make a prediction now because now that you brought up Peter Pan, I think
Yeah.
we're gonna get a really similar ride system soon over in California Adventure. Can you make a prediction of where do you think Avengers Infinity Defense is going to wind up, assuming that it's got to be a screen ride, right?
It is. I mean, it looks like it, and I am not excited for it because of that.
So where on the list would you put it? What would be your prediction?
I predict it'll probably be. I think it's going to be close to Battle at the Ministry. To be honest, the scale, it seems like they're going for with that show building. How long it's taken them, they can't do anything but make it as ambitious as that. Otherwise, it's going to fall so flat. So, and I mean, I like that IP better. So there's that. But
Okay,
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be very close to that.
I think a 5 or 6.
I think a 5 or a 6 is probably where it'll end. But again, not excited for it just because it's the screen. And I mean, I know a lot of people like this Peter Pan ride. I was like, all right, it's a screen. I like the Tangle ride better than I did Peter Pan.
Did we speak to someone on the cruise recently? Was those just like that Peter Pan ride?
I talked to multiple people at the Disney Sea Resort who were like, loved the Peter Pan ride over in Fantasy Springs. And I was like, okay, I guess.
It met its match with you, the screen hater.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, to be fair, my wife hates screen rides too. And she was like, I don't know, that ride sucked. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the queue, look, if you like that ride, let me know why in the comments. I'm happy to hear it. But moving on to some dishonorable mentions, this is where it's going to get very fun. I have multiple.
There's so many you could go with here.
You could do a top 5
Yeah.
worst screen rides episode, and that would be hilarious. But I mean, I'm going to go through some of these. Simpsons, obviously, I hate that ride. There's an entire test in the World Class Test named after it because of how much I hate that ride. Race Through New York, Jimmy Fallon is maybe one of the worst rides in the world. Our guy Poseidon Entertainment just made a video about it, trying to kind of prop it up. I appreciated the effort. I love his takes. I love that he will say a take and then do everything he can to defend it. It's an incredible format, and I love his content. A man after my own heart. Fast and the Furious Supercharged, notoriously one of the worst rides of all time, and yet Byron and I recently went on a ride that I think undeniably is the worst ride on Earth. I think it's the worst ride on Earth. I mean, in terms of the IP that it's representing, it's a screen ride. It's a shooter. It's in multiple parks. and I just got on it for the first time recently with Byron. I'd never been able to get on it.
Oh my goodness. Oh man, that has not aged well. That's right. Battle for Metropolis, right?
Justice League.
Justice League.
Battle for Metropolis. The worst ride, I think, on Earth. I couldn't believe it. When we got on it during Fright Fest, which is, the lines for the rides in that event, notoriously long, a walk-on for this ride. I was actually somewhat impressed with some of the theming in the queue. And then we got on the ride, and then I realized it was a shooter, and I was like, okay, oh brother. Even as a shooter, this is rough. Like, you have no idea how the gun works. The aiming and the response to it is trash. The screens themselves look like they were built before Spider-Man. They're so bad. I think at one point the screen in our ride glitched. Do you remember that? And there was just dots all over it.
Yeah. Look, it
looked like, if you ever had like one of your nephews or something throw like a ball, like a television screen, and then like the screen like broke. It looked like that. Like there were just a bunch of dots all over it. Is rough. Very, very bad ride.
There's a reason why Six Flags or big like theme park or lower budget theme park chains don't necessarily go for the, heavily themed or screen heavy dark ride.
No.
Anything that requires a lot of maintenance or upkeep.
Yes.
Because I rode this a few years ago. I've actually ridden this in Georgia.
Yeah.
Six Flags Over Georgia with gratuitous theme parks.
Nice.
And I remember thinking, you know what? Look, it's Six Flags, but there's some effort here, and I like that they're doing something. However, when we rode it at Fright Fest at Magic Mountain, it just was all falling apart. Like,
dude,
nothing was working anymore. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is just, it's not built to like.
It was the rare live action blend ride where both the screens and the live action elements were absolute ass. Like the animatronics,
I think it reached a point
cheeks.
we like looked at each other and we're like, why are we even shooting these?
We
guns?
literally holstered our guns because we were like, first off, it's not
I don't know
working,
you don't know what you're shooting at,
and it doesn't work. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just sit here and look at this shitty screen. And that it is bad. But you're right. Like, even like my beloved Knott's Berry Farm, back in the day when they had the Kraken over in the spot where Land of the Dinosaurs used to be, and now is Berry Tales. Even Berry Tales, it's okay. Good job, good effort. Kraken was one of the worst rides ever made, I think. But you're right. Yeah, when they don't have the budget to make these screen rides, which is crazy to think about, because you would think of screen rides, you're like, oh, they're trying to save money to avoid making like live action elements and animatronics. These screen rides are really expensive too. That's the other part. It's like that I don't understand it, but yeah, this ride is a real whopper. And if you haven't been on it, I honestly can't recommend going on it enough. Just because whatever you think is a bad ride, get on this ride. It's up. It might be the worst ride on Earth.
And this is at various Six Flags parks, I think.
Yes.
I'm wondering what the upkeep is like at the other ones.
If you are in California and you are someone who goes to Six Flags Magic Mountain, or you haven't been, I would recommend carving out the 5 to 10 minutes that it takes to get on this ride, because there's not going to be a line, and it is a sight to behold while it's still here. I think when you consider the fact that it's in multiple parks and the IP that it's representing, I think you could make a very strong argument that it's the worst ride on Earth. It's so bad. It's so bad.
Ugh. Yeah, it's annoying too, because I want to promote more dark rides
at Six Flags and
at regional parks.
But
boy, when you experience something like this, you're like, all right, just keep building the coasters.
Well, the thing is, Knott's does dark rides well. They have some of the best dark rides in the world at Knott's.
Mm-hmm. Six Flags does have one good dark ride, though.
Oh, yeah, I haven't been to it, though.
The Monster Mansion.
Monster Mansion. I want to get on that shit so bad. But anyways.
I have one.
Oh, if you have one, yeah, let's do it.
I have a dishonorable. I'm surprised we didn't bring up Web Slingers this whole time.
Oh, my God.
But
I completely forgot.
I don't want to pick on Web Slingers anymore, so I'm going to pull another one out of the holster, because I experienced it over the summer, and I just can't resist. It is at Circus, and it is not SpongeBob, which I actually do enjoy. We should give it its own episode.
I think it's a bad ride too.
We'll let the rubric decide.
Okay.
Anyways, Circus has a simulator attraction called called Extreme Ride Theater, and Samantha Souza and I went on it.
Well, this is the Extreme Ride Theater. The Extreme Ride Theater.
Holy crap. I think they interchanged it. It was themed to Angry Birds when we went on it.
Yeah.
And boy, oh boy, there is no correlation between the screen moving and the theater.
We are barely moving.
Is it matching what's on the screen?
Not really.
Yes.
It's all inconsistent, and you get very dizzy very fast. It is the worst simulator I think I've ever been on, to the point where I do encourage you to check it out if you are at the Adventure
Yeah, I
Dome.
mean-
it is like one of those so bad, I think you should just check it out just to get a laugh.
Yeah, no, it's...
But if you're motion sickness, maybe avoid it. They gave us like a barf warning before the ride started. You got like that teenager that's just like, if you start to feel nauseous, put your hand in the hair and cover your mouth.
Oh my God, you know what I just realized too? In my dishonorables, I could also put Mission Space there. Because I hate that ride.
But it's such a banger.
Oh, is it?
It's such a banger.
I hate that ride so much.
And almost an omission on my part. Could have muscle jobbed that one.
You could have. I actually
But
was...
that wouldn't have been for the people.
If you'd put that on the list, if that had made it on the list, I'd be so angry. I hate that ride
No,
so much.
I tried to be more objective with this one.
I completely
so
forgot about Web Slingers. God, that ride sucks. Such a bad ride.
It is rough. Hopefully you've grown some appreciation with us on these screen rides through the course of this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had to throw in throw a little bit of shade at the end, a few side elbows.
I think we threw a little shade throughout, to be quite honest, or at least I did. I tried my best not to. I apologize. That does it for this episode of For Your Amusement. If you're watching, again, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you're watching on youtube.com/@FYApod, or if you're listening, subscribe and rate the podcast 5 stars or leave a review. It's extremely helpful. And again, you could join our fourth wall by becoming a park hopper or an FYA hole, as Byron mentions it to be, at FYApod.com. Get up to 3 monthly bonus shows, extended vlogs early. You'll find our merch there. And again, we are now offering an annual subscription, which will give you a 10% discount. And speaking of FYA Pod, here are the names of 10 e-ticketers that we'd like to thank who are already over there supporting the show. We have Alex, Pamela, JJ, Maggie Whitmer, Fast and Furious, Jay Brewski, Slytherin Deception, Dubai Jim, and Jefferson. And then finally, Coaster, I hardly know her. Follow the pod socials at FYA Pod everywhere. I'm at Ryan Bergara everywhere. And Byron is at Byron A. Marin. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you all on the next ride. Bye-bye.